I don't know if another advisor. All investors with information contained in this video don't determine the purposes unless you foreign investment relations that otherwise professional stock participation of videos not be considered investment. Allows you may go investing in trading in stock market attempt to be able to do investments with decline in value or disappear entirely. To be careful.
Learning a lot more about how much Bud Light sales have fallen in each region of the country.
Budweiser was the American beer. It took decades to build that brand, and they blew it up in 30 hours. And Target wants to sell to everybody, obviously, and they've made a huge mistake. Do you ever hear a CEO that represents a company ever talking about abortion? Never, because that is an issue that will never be resolved. It's a personal issue, it's a family issue, it's a religious issue, it's partisan forever. You don't touch it. Same thing with politics, same thing with gender identity. Everybody has a personal opinion about it. When you actually get involved in a fight like that, you lose 50% of your constituency.
Now, it's important to understand and differentiate between what is considered normal market movement and real stock price change from a company going woke. Stock price might have nothing to do with how good the company is doing financially. Stock price is only a reflection of how investors feel about a company. A drop in stock or a spike in stock price might not have any correlation to marketing fiascos as opposed to inflation or common trends among many companies all across the same industry. Further, it's often quite normal for a company's stock to fluctuate plus or minus 10% over any given year. So now that we know how to differentiate between a stock just moving up and down normally and actually being affected by woke company, let's see how some companies make questionable decisions that can adversely affect their customer base. This, of course, leads to people buying their products less and thereby causing the company to lose lots of money. So how could there be some profit in here? Well, let me tell you about 4 examples of woke companies, including one where I profited myself, and there's some things to look for to make a profit and some things to avoid. I will cover them all. One thing before getting into these examples is that all investment has risk. Only invest what you can afford to potentially lose all of.
And look over here. That's where the stock market crashed. Mr. Griffin. Oh.
Don't take this too seriously. This is a video for entertainment purposes only. Also, don't sue my ass. Now, to understand how to make a profit off a woke company doing something stupid and upsetting its customer base, we need to see the psychology behind it. As said before, stocks are not necessarily an indicator of how good a company is doing financially, but a reflection of investor sentiment. So a company's stock could plummet even though it's doing fine, just because investors are worried about what it'll do in the future. So let's go through a generic example. Company A has a stock that's doing just fine. They're performing normally for the stereotypical market in their preferred industry, but then they do something woke. A discreditable incident, triggering a boycott or customer upset, or just even threatening to do so. Now this makes investors panic and they sell some of their stock, anticipating that the company may go through hard times quite soon. Now the stock plummets, but hopefully not forever. Now here are the really important parts and what you have to look for. As you're watching this stock plummet that was previously trending at normal market rates, you are looking for a redemption event. This redemption event can be in many forms and is almost certainly going to happen at some point as the company panics and tries to get people confident in the company's future again. So they will stop selling off their stocks and stop driving the share price downward. Now, sometime between the discreditable incident and the redemption event, you want to buy this company's stock, preferably just before or right after the redemption event. You want to buy just after the shares have gotten as low as possible in the hopes of the investment that in the near future the company will get its shit back together, undo its wokeness, and slowly but surely return back to normal market value. After the short bout of turmoil, it should stabilize, then rise back to pre-incident levels. You can then sell your stock once the market stabilizes and profit by pocketing the difference. This is called buying the dip, and it's not to be confused with shorting, a much longer and slower process of betting against a company's success. Now, not all companies will have a good, clean redemption event. Some companies try to keep the woke mob in the back route burner, keeping the conversation open and only do a half-assed or so apology. And then they keep diving. So I will talk more later about what makes a real redemption event and how it doesn't necessarily even have to be an apology. Now, one of the first examples I want to get into on this list is Anheuser-Busch, after their infamous Dylan Mulvaney incident, in which transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney partnered with the company's most popular beer brand, Bud Light, to create an online marketing campaign. The company received backlash from conservatives and was pretty much harshly boycotted, potentially leading to Anheuser-Busch selling off 10 different of its subsidiary companies this year, including 10 Barrel Brewing Co. Now, this story would have one of the signature marks of what I would call a good indicator to buy the dip, the discreditable event. Yet they had no real distinguishable redemption event. It was all wishy-washy. They tried this apology strat, which wasn't really an apology. They never really disowned Dylan Mulvaney, and they went and started a war on two fronts. Conservatives boycotted them for not condemning Dylan Mulvaney, and the alphabet community boycotted them for not doubling down on supporting Dylan Mulvaney.
People who drink Bud Light are not impressed, is the truth. John Rich is one of them. He is, of course, a famous singer-songwriter, a country star. He joins us tonight with his thoughts on Bud Light going trans.
Well, you know, there's a lot of smart, really high-paid people, Tucker, that sit around big conference tables at all the major brands, and they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to market their product to do what? To sell more of it, whether it's beer or country music or a pickup truck or pretty much anything you can think of. And it's their right to market it however they want. They're making a bet that this is going to sell more product. And so, you know, I'm also in this world. You know, I sell music. Redneck Riviera is a brand of mine that's nationwide. What's happening, Tucker, is people that have been loyal to brands for decades and decades are finding it hard to stay loyal to them. And so they start hunting down other brands that they can go support. And there's tons of up-and-coming American brands out there that people are flooding to right now, kind of like mine.
You really got to hope, and it's not even owned by the Bush family anymore, but that Bud Light fails over this. I mean, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to root for bankruptcy, but in this case, I think we have to hope for that.
I think the customers decide. Customers are king. So I own a bar downtown in Nashville called Redneck Riviera, and our number one selling beer up until a few days ago was, guess what? Bud Light. That was the number one beer. We got cases and cases and cases of it sitting back there. But in the past several days, you're hard-pressed to find anybody ordering one. So as the business owner, I just go, hey, if you guys aren't going to order it, we got to put something else in here. And at the end of the day, that's capitalism, right, Tucker? That's how it works.
That's right. And they make great targets. You hit it.
A brewing controversy has resulted in a boycott, with at least 5 Chicago bars eliminating Bud Light, Busch Light, and Goose Island 312 from their drink menus.
You abandoned us at the very time when we needed it the most.
Mark Robertson, the co-owner of Two Bears Tavern Group, feels Anheuser-Busch abandoned the LGBTQ plus community after the company backtracked on a partnership with transgender social media star Dylan Mulvaney.
This month I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it.
Following that video, Anheuser-Busch received backlash, resulting in a drop in sales, while rival companies' profits rose. Robertson believes the LGBTQ plus community could have used the major company's support in that moment more than ever before.
He essentially erased our entire community from being part of the America that is what Anheuser-Busch is about.
The wildly popular Sidetrack bar quickly followed suit, also tossing out Anheuser-Busch products.
Over the past 4 decades, we've really prided ourselves in working with brands that like to support the LGBTQ plus community more than just putting rainbows on cans.
In a statement released last month, Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth writes, "We never intended to be a part of a discussion that divides people. We are in the business of bringing people together over a beer."
We really hope that, Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch could come to the table and discuss about what they can do to show that they do support the LGBTQ plus community, because I want to believe that they do.
At multiple stages, they had these soft apologies that I would say are not actually redemption events. As we can see from their stock over the past year and 6 months, ever since the start of Pride Month in June of 2023, they've been going steadily down. I expect to see this trend continue with the selling of their 10 brands that they own to a Canadian beverage distributor. Another potential redemption event was the original founder of Bud Light, Bud Lightyear himself, offering to buy back the company from Anheuser-Busch and put it back to American values, he said. AB selling off or apologizing or giving the infamous American brand back to its original owner could have all been potential redeeming events, yet none of them got traction, were covered by major news, or had anywhere near as much impact as the initial boycott did. The dozens of conservative celebrities dogpiling onto the company didn't help either. For these reasons, Anheuser-Busch is an example of what you should not buy the dip with. There was never a clear or distinguishable redemption event. With no clearly defined turnaround, the stock will most likely keep falling until it finishes selling off those 10 companies. Lastly, it also just lost its place as America's #1 beer brand, being replaced by Modelo. If you were to buy Anheuser-Busch stock at this point, it would have to be for the much more long-term investment that they would one day recover, potentially years down the road. They didn't have a series of bad business decisions, they had a single clear incident, but they didn't follow through on the equation, making this a bad investment. Next company I'd talk about is Disney, which did have a long trend of poor business decisions and not a single isolated incident. On the positive side, they went and fired their CEO Bob Chapek twice, then Bob Iger. These were both excellent redemption opportunities where, 1, the redemption event is not an apology. Apologies make companies seem weak, make investors worried, and often don't redeem your company in the way you think it does. 2, the redemption events don't need to necessarily be apologies. So now their redemption event is Disney firing the CEO. 3, the new CEO comes in and finishes the redemption event with a speech of some sort. The new Disney CEO promised, but failed, to knock off the woke stuff and that they would go back to original stories, thereby undoing all the fucky-wookiness of the last CEO. Now these were all fantastic for the possibility of buying the dip. All the signature signs of a redemption event, except Disney has too much going on. They had been consistently doing woke crap on the daily. One thing near and dear to my heart is getting rid of Splash Mountain. Go watch my other video. Another is consistently getting in fights with conservative strongholds like Florida's Ron DeSantis. Disney would be an excellent company to buy the dip of if the dip really were a dip and not a trend of many different woke actions. Race swapping the Little Mermaid, first non-binary this, first non-binary that, the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Angry Women, Buzz Lightyear gay kiss. All in all, we're looking at a 5-year trend of Disney peaking in 2021 and then slowly being on a steady decline with a series of various woke box office bombs. With the way Disney stock has been trending and declining, I would not consider Disney to be a good buy without a long-term plan for them to reinvest in original content or content geared away from woke audiences. Target. Same thing, the triggering moment being the start of June and Pride Month. There is a clear drop right when it starts and then never stopped. There are some market predictions that this drop will fix itself come Christmas when all box stores, including Target, see a big uptick in sales. For those of you who don't know, Target has always been super alphabet friendly, and for Pride Month in 2023, they ran a series of clothing displays with tuck-friendly swimsuits in a separate line of clothing from satanic worshipping clothing designer. These two separate incidents throughout Pride Month 23 upset conservative shoppers, starting a nationwide boycott of the store.
Last week, the CEO of Target sent a company-wide email explaining Pride-themed merchandise would be removed from some stores because of physical threats to Target employees. Target has sold similar items for more than a decade in celebration of Pride Month. But this year, a small, vocal group of people has gathered online encouraging a boycott of one of America's favorite brands.
Attention shoppers. There's a cleanup on every aisle. Target is targeting your kids. Put a target on my back, put the target in your kids. We got a Trump truck on a Trump truck. You wanna what? Target, yeah. Boycott Target. The #1 song in America. No way conservatives could actually top the rap chart. You've never heard of Forgiato Blow. On this episode of The Benny Show, we're going to show you how conservatives are fighting back, one boycott at a time.
Forgiato Blow is a Florida-based MAGA rapper. He's also the #1 artist in America right now. His song Boycott Target is the top of the charts, #1 song in all categories. He's beating Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, and Taylor Swift in the charts right now.
Today we're here at Target. Let's go in and see what they got going on for Pride Month. So right now I'm standing
This is great. They're definitely not pushing this to your kids at all. And my personal favorite, really want to make your presence known? It's not a phase, Dad. You also got coloring books. Hold on, let's... You know, it's normal, right? All the people out there on the internet that's saying they're not trying to push this on our kids, this isn't Target. Okay, so maybe you're wrong.
I just walked into Target, and right behind me here where you see all these lovely swimsuits, that's where the Pride display used to be. And I came in here 2 days ago, and my 7-year-old, who's non-binary,
I'm shocked,
saw it and said, "Look, Mom, it's Pride. Look, they're gonna celebrate me."
Yeah, that didn't happen.
They have moved the Pride section to the back of the store. So the next time my 7-year-old comes to Target, or rather, I can't bring them here anymore, at least for the entire month of June.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Because if they walk in, and all the other people who walk in and go, "Where'd it go?" are going to realize that they are being successful in trying to erase them. We could do so much better than this. We're not supposed to negotiate with the terrorists. We're not supposed to negotiate with the terrorists. We're not supposed to negotiate with the terrorists.
Ah, thank you. I did not know I was a terrorist for refusing to shop at a woke store. There were, just as with the Bud Light incident, conservative figures who capitalized on the drama, drawing even more unwanted attention. Additionally, just as the Bud Light controversy, not only conservative criticism, but leftist criticism. Just like the Bud Light controversy with the war on two fronts, many celebrities with supposedly alphabet children began criticizing Target for giving in to the terrorists and taking down the displays, creating the exact same war on two fronts issue that Bud Light was up against. Now Target has a good track record in the past. This was seemingly an isolated incident, but they again had a weak apology. No clear redemption event, and several of them at that. The CEO, the director of marketing, and various employees all made clunky, awkward statements at several different times throughout the controversy. Some store managers took down the displays immediately, claiming that they did it out of concerns for the safety of their employees. Other stores took a half-assed approach, but simply moving the displays to the back of the store, seemingly out of sight for customers who had just entered. The corporate director of marketing also said in a separate statement, "We intend to be more careful going forward and learn how to avoid controversial topics. We've all learned so much from all this." Now, I still wouldn't call Target a good buy. They showed that they are still too weak, still going down, and they still had no clear redemption moment, despite trying desperately. I would say that unlike Bud Light or Disney, I think Target may do better this winter with Christmas coming. I mean, Disney parks make the most during the summer, so they're not going to do better in the winter, and people don't usually buy a shitload of Bud Light for Christmas. Now, my favorite company, Victoria's Secret. An important part of this equation is that the discreditable event should be isolated, not a trend of many bad business decisions. To have the incident be isolated is an important part of the equation. If the Victoria's Secret has what I would call the perfect storm, it would be because they didn't have a series of bad business decisions leading up to it. When I look at their stock price over the past year, I don't need any sort of news article or calendar to remember exactly where the discreditable event was. Also, this incident was perfect as, like discussed earlier, it was a single isolated incident. When an incident is isolated and not part of a pattern of many different poor business decisions, it stands out in investors' minds as an anomaly, so they will be more willing to forgive a company and go back to buying their products. This also helps return the stock price to normal as soon as possible. It can also exacerbate how severe the downward spike is. The harsher the event, the deeper the spike. The quicker investors and customers are to forgive and forget, the thinner the spike will be in width. Now, Victoria's Secret has this announcement that they are going to debut 7 or 8 new transgender models at New York Fashion Week. And surprise, surprise, people don't like seeing a dude in lingerie, and their stock tanked. Then the CEO had a crying fit and instead of being fired, resigned themselves, and their stock quickly returned to normal market value. The company appointed a new CEO who quickly announced that they are going to get rid of the transgender models and return everything to normal. Investors took a deep exhale and everything went back to normal. Now, this is what I'd call the perfect scenario for buying the dip. 1. The discreditable incident was an isolated event. The redeeming arc is fairly quick and failing the rise is only a month or so. The redeeming event was not an apology, but a resignation. Apologies make a company seem weak and scare investors. This resignation makes those opposed to whatever happened feel like they had a victory, and now they're no longer worried about once again investing in the company. I personally bought Victoria's Secret stock right after the CEO resigned and sold once the stock returned to about where it was before the incident, making a 16% return on investment. That is insanely good for a stock market investment. Now, of course, this is a single example of how it can work well. If the company had done anything more severe after that CEO resigned, I could have potentially lost all my money. That being said, buying the dip is a completely legitimate strategy that has been around in the investing community for a long time. I've just never seen it applied specifically to woke companies before. With more and more companies going woke every day and BlackRock pushing ESG scores harder than ever, it's nice to see conservatives finally realizing the parallel economies are a thing and that their voice as a consumer dollar matters. So I expect to see lots more incidents like this in the future. Have a good day and thanks for watching.
Fuck Bud Light and fuck Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day.